Hello, Trailblazers, and welcome to another edition of Entrepreneur Journey. And I am super excited today to have Martin Hewlett on the program. Martin has an amazing podcast that we'll get into in just a minute, but I admire this man's success with his podcast quite a bit. But we're going to dive into his entrepreneur journey a little bit. But before we start that, let's talk a little bit, just get some getting to know you questions. So, Martin, I know you're in pretty good shape, and I saw something on your profile about running a 10K. I think you're also into martial arts, if I'm not mistaken. What is your favorite? Yeah. What is your favorite type of physical activity, exercise, etc.?
I can't put my finger on it. At the moment, I've decided to do an ultra marathon at the end of the year, just because I haven't done one before. But 2 months ago, I took my last grading for promotion in Taekwondo, which I've been doing since the very early 80s. And I'm now an 8th degree master in Taekwondo.
Wow.
I do powerlifting, which I took up 10 years ago just to see how far I could push myself. And I've gained I had the world record for deadlifts for my age and weight. So European regs, it was 201 kilos.
Wow.
So 400 pounds. And I won the world championships for that. Did a couple of marathons when I was younger, but that was when I was working for the army and just felt like taking up running again. So I like to set goals either every year or every 2 years. And I've never thought I can't achieve it. So, and this run is barefoot as well, or barefoot shoe. So,
wow. Yeah. Is it on the road?
It'll be road, although I will be doing a trail one, which will be the year after. I want to do a 100K ultra, which is over hill, really. So, yeah. I just like to set goals and see what I can do.
I feel like I should be running a marathon because I think it was the last person I interviewed also is into running ultra marathons. And I'm like, I don't even run regular marathons. I guess I need to get on the ball. So,
well, I hadn't even planned it. I had other goals this year. I was going to do a specific challenge. But then on Facebook, this challenge came up and it said run a half marathon, full marathon. And then there was an option for an ultra. And I thought, well, I've done a marathon, so let's just do the ultra. And it's not much longer. It's 31.5 miles. So it's 50K.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Oh, my daughter's a runner, and she runs cross country and track, and she runs like 5 to 10 miles a day. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Nice. So my next question is, do you have a favorite holiday?
But no, because for the last 20 years, I really haven't bothered. Whilst I've worked as a paramedic within the National Health Service, I think my job, my life is a holiday. I'm looking forward as I progress away from the National Health Service and into my entrepreneurship. For me, it would be going Caribbean to go free diving, not snorkeling or sub-aqua, but the idea of free diving is something that really touches the core. So that's on my bucket list for next year. So, yeah.
And it's so fascinating. It makes me have another question. So free diving, that's without a tank and that's without a snorkel, right? So you go, are you going to try and dive down as far as you can? Like just with human breath?
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, it's not the depth, but it's the staying underwater, sort of the 10, 20 meter mark. And just, I can't explain it, but it really touches the soul. I used to be a lifeguard, swimmer and highboard diver, and there's nothing nicer than once you've dived into the water is staying right on the bottom and just suspending yourself and being in that moment. I love it, absolutely love it. And if you can do that in crystal clear water and you've got fish around you, it's something that really touches the soul. And I can't explain how or why.
Well, I'm adopting that as my goal too. I want to do that as well because that sounds amazing. Okay, next question. What do you wish you had known sooner in life?
Of my potential. I've spent far too much time shackled by the thoughts and actions of other people around me and the negative impact that that's had because of my, let's say, quirky personality and as a child at school, disruptive and lack of attention. I was told you can't achieve. But now that I create my podcast and my YouTube channel and my therapy business, I am so happy working within the environment that I do. 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there, 10 minutes there. And that's what I try and get across in the podcast, is to embrace your own unique individual qualities and run with them. So yeah, if I'd have realized at the age of 16, 18, this potential, and I always remember when I was at college at 17, I'd left home and I was working part-time for free on our local radio station. And my landlady said, "It's your voice." And I never realized it. But when I got into Clubhouse a year or so ago, that's when I started to believe in what I had. Yes, the podcast had started to explode, but all these different people actually talking back to me saying, "Do you realize the gift you've got?" And that's when I took responsibility for what I have and the passion I have behind what I do. So yeah.
Nice. Well, having recently discovered your podcast and been listening to it the last few days, I would agree with everything that they said. And what we're going to dive into exactly what the podcast is and what it's all about here in a minute. But it's something I'm adding to my daily routine. So really, really awesome. So what I want to get into now, well, let's do this because I don't want to get too far down the road before we start talking about the name of your podcast and kind of what you do. So let's talk about that for a minute, and then we'll dive into your journey if that works for you.
Yeah, sure.
All right. So tell us about the podcast rather.
The podcast, well, it started from a really small acorn. So my hypnotherapy coach told me to read a book called Key Person of Influence because I wasn't a business person. I've been within the medical fraternity all my life. And out of that book, I stopped at the chapter where it says, give something away for free. So I started a YouTube channel thinking I'll just record some mindfulness for hypnotherapy clients. And then I found Pat Flynn. I listened to Ask Pat 2.0 and his SPI. And I very quickly pivoted into a podcast. So the podcast, the very first one was called Calming Anxiety, and it is still my largest download and listen to podcast ever. And it slowly became a bi-weekly or a fortnightly show into a 5-day-a-week and then a daily way of helping other people overcome their anxieties, their fears, their doubts. And it's, one of my strap lines, it is a coffee break for the soul. For anyone who's struggling, who's busy, who doesn't give themselves time because they're always committed to work, to school, to their family. It's your moment of me time in our busy lives, just to reconnect mind, body, and soul and go, I needed that, rather than I must do this, I must do that. It's just time for people to heal and reconnect.
That's exactly the way I felt the first time I listened to your podcast. Was I needed that. It's such a welcome. I feel like it's something needed, not really an interruption, right? It's part of my, like, taking a vitamin. It's something that's going to help me that day. So powerful. Thank you for that. Now let's dive back all the way to Martin in the very beginning of his entrepreneur journey, and then kind of go to where you are now with this amazing podcast that has 4 million downloads and is in the top 1%.
Yeah. Well, business-wise, I've run 2 businesses before, actually, and appallingly. So as a martial artist, I used to run 3 martial arts schools in the southeast of the UK. I had the most students out of any of the English schools. I had the most overall champions. And as an instructor, I was very successful. But as a business, I was appalling. I had no concept. I've never been driven by money or success of a business. And then I ran a taxi firm, which was even more unsuccessful. And don't ask why I got into that. I have no idea. I became a hypnotherapist purely for two reasons, which brought me into entrepreneurship. One, I had a massive mental health breakdown 8 years ago, and through some amazing therapy, it reconnected all the dots in my brain. I then thought, I've got to learn this. It was an amazing skill and I can use it as a paramedic. So I became a qualified clinical hypnotherapist. And at the same time, I lost half my pension and my house in an amicable divorce, but that's how life is. And I thought I need to find a way of offsetting the loss of that money later on in life. So I'll start a hypnotherapy practice. It seemed like a good idea. And it is slowly taken off, but the hypnotherapy practice has plateaued as I've thought I kind of leave it to one side, as the podcast has become a brand of its own and I've realized the potential that I've got. And although it wasn't a set journey that I thought, well, I'll do this, I've seen, in fact, I don't even like to call it a podcast. I just use the podcasting platform to create this brand of mindfulness meditation and guided hypnosis. The podcast then spawned its own app. And that's where the real focus now of my entrepreneur journey is going, as I learn marketing, placement, and exposure. Because I do not have a budget. Yeah, it's just everyone else says, oh, you've got this product, you need to invest 20,000 plus a month into Facebook or YouTube advertising. Well, if you're a humble guy with zero extra income at the end of the month because you're living on a base salary from one career, you have to be creative. And that's what I do. I spend all my time connecting, building bridges and speaking to people in other areas and saying, look, I've got this. Could you use this? Could you help me do A and I'll make you do B? And it seems to be working. And as I say, for the first time in the last few months, I've started to genuinely, I love the brand I have, but when you see the feedback from everyone else saying, oh, wow, you have something, I now am pushing and pushing and pushing to make sure that the world can see what we've got. Because there are other brands, you know, there's Calm, there's Headspace, but the emails I get back off my listeners of people who use the app is the key difference is empathy. My shows, my audio sessions are one from a deep, deep place of knowing and understanding, having been there. They're not from a place of, oh, we've got a great idea how to make money. I can now make money, which I intend to invest back into structuring mental health for adolescents, not just in the southwest of the UK, but I now have a team where we want to fund a nationwide and then a very global strategy for kids at school to understand that they are being heard, that there is a way to overcome the negative impact that a bad upbringing that so many have doesn't have to define your future happiness. That's the core tenet behind what we're doing.
Man, I love that. I love that. I love that. I had so many, you went into that, I had questions on my head and then you went into that and all I could focus on was, wow, that is such a great thing to do. So let me take a second to see if I can't remember what I was going to ask you. And I think, so organic growth. So everything has been organic growth to this point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah.
So I started November 2019, no social media following, no presence at all, no paid advertising, and the show has grown steadily as a podcast there's a difference between downloads and impressions, but we're running at about 450,000 impressions on the show each month. It generates a small amount of advertising revenue of the low end of 4 figures US dollars a month. And that's about it. And I'm just now working on marketing it better. We all get offers for our podcast to have them sponsored, but they've got to align with the core principles and demographic. And that was another thing, is understanding the demographics of the show. So I thought I was producing a show for guys like me, you know, old middle-aged men. And my largest demographic are females aged 20 to 34 in the US, which then made me realize, let's look at what's trending for them, what's bothering them. And then I coordinate the tagging of each show, each daily show accordingly. And I think that paid dividends as well, is when they're looking on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, is understanding what they're going to be searching for so that I show up. And it seems to work.
I when I listened to your podcast actually this morning, I got the Peloton ad, which would fit that demographic very well. It actually fits me pretty well.
I must say, I've only recently discovered the advertising that Spreaker, my podcast host, put on. And one of them was for a really niche travel company. And I thought, all right. So I now look at what they're for and how they impact that main demographic, and maybe tweak those tags so I can spread the umbrella a bit further and grow the show even more. Because people say top 1%, that's good, but I want to be in that top 0.05% and say, hi, Joe Rogan.
You're right. Yeah.
You know, because I'm a fairly focused, slightly competitive person.
Well, as many entrepreneurs are, and I think one of the big lessons that we can get out of your story today is that you can be hugely successful just from organic, from organic growth. You don't necessarily have to run paid ads, and it's all about hitting the right audience with the right message, right?
Yep, absolutely. I mean, it was only when I broke 4 million last month that I actually sat back and thought, actually, that's quite a lot. And my friends that I train with are going, do you not realize what you've done? Because I never did, because I could not feel gratification and pride in helping someone else. That I can't connect those two up. But this time I think, okay, I can have a sense of achievement because it will help even more people. And for that reason alone, I'm now pushing it, and I'm reaching out to national radio stations in the UK. But actually, you've just made me think maybe I should push to reach out to national stations in the US more. Seems that's where my largest audience is.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. So let's dive into around your expertise a little bit. Mm-hmm. So entrepreneurs, I'm actually not only listening to your app, I'm reading a book about anxiety. Not that I feel like I have a lot of anxiety, but I feel like every entrepreneur has some level of anxiety, whether they admit it or not. So listen.
Natural. Sorry, go on.
No, you go ahead.
It's a natural human response. It's a very brainstem level mammalian response. We need anxiety. And I have a really good one about this. So during my hypnotherapy course, which ran over 18 months, I took part in one of the world's powerlifting competitions. And I got my hypnotherapy tutor to take away my fear. And although I succeeded, it ruined me getting the records I want. Because although fear and anxiety are unpleasant emotions, they help us in times of stress. That adrenaline helps us overcome pain and discomfort so that we can far surpass our expected potential. It's how we manage it. And that's, anxiety is needed, even though we don't like it. Some people thrive on it. I personally hate it, but I realize it's a really necessary emotion, and it will get me through those really tricky times. That's what's helped me as a hypnotherapist. Also, being a hypnotherapist, you become far happier as a human being because you become aware of the internal words you use in your own mind. So say if you're clumsy and you drop something, most people go, oh, you stupid idiot, at the base level. But that's such a negative thing to say about yourself. You wouldn't say that to a loved one. So the person you should love most in the world is you, your reflection, the person you live with. And you become very adept at stopping negativity. When you find something difficult, when you can't complete a task, it's to stop, restop, and look for solutions. And everyone around me has noticed I've become a very solution-focused person, to the point of being really annoying, that nothing bugs me. That when things go wrong, like rebuilding an old motorbike and bolt snap is going, no, I'm factoring in all the potential issues that could come along, so that I enjoy every process I do. And it makes me more aware of using words and other people's words in conferences, in talking, to understand what they'd like to get across and how I can better get myself across in a way that they would appreciate. So that's
nice.
Yeah, that's a rabbit hole. Sorry.
No, I think you just answered the second part of what I was going to say is, what are the benefits of meditation and adding it as a daily routine to?
It's not reacting negatively straight away. It's suppressing in a positive way that absolute negative reaction of going, oh, I can't do this. Instead, you'd be thinking, all right, that's tricky. I'll come back to that in a minute, and I might think of a way around it. Because generally, there are always solutions. There is a positive to most situations. And in my sporting career, I've had huge setbacks. I've had major surgery on various bits. And my two grown-up kids and those around me in the gym have always said, you have to be the most positive person ever. The day I snapped my forearm in a competition, and the day they let me out of hospital with my arm in a plaster cast from shoulder to wrist, I was in the gym training again. I broke 3 plaster casts in a fortnight.
Wow.
Because I thought, okay, I can't use my arm, but I can use my legs. This is in no way an excuse not to achieve. So whatever negative comes your way, you can use that as a positive to focus on another area of your life to improve. Yeah.
I feel like you and I are very like-minded in that sense. I almost welcome problems. Yes, they may cause me anxiety and other emotions, but I think, there's just the reason there's a problem is because there's a solution, right? So I love that. Another thing that I know you help people with is improving their sleep. So what do you believe the secret, let me back up. Can you talk about that, especially how it getting dialed in can, I'm going to edit this just so you know, I'm going to ask that question again. So another thing I know that you help people with is sleep. So can you talk about that a little bit, especially how it's beneficial to get an optimized amount of sleep for an entrepreneur?
Yeah. Well, as a paramedic of 20 years, my sleep was horrendous. And for 6 years, I was completely addicted to an over-the-counter drug in the UK called Phenergan, which helps you sleep. It's an antihistamine. But my sleep was getting worse and worse and causing a lot of issues. I went cold turkey off the Phenergan. I stopped eating. I never eat now after 5 o'clock in the evening. And I do a breathing technique every night before sleep. It's caused issues for my partner, who thinks I've stopped breathing altogether. So I get my breathing rate down to 2 a minute. I use this normal cycle, and it's in some of my podcasts, where you say breathe in for a count of 3, hold for 2, out for 5, always out for a count of 2 longer than the in count. And after a minute, I'll then extend this. And because I'm competitive, I just like to really extend it. So I breathe in for a count of 13, hold for 2, out for 15. And that, not only obviously you're slowing your breathing, but it slows down your heart rate and it slows down your brain waves. And it says to your body, to your conscious and your subconscious, this is it now. This is sleep time. And I'm out like a light. Even within the app, there is the breathing challenge on there for people just to try for free, and it times you, and you can go in for 2, even in for 2, hold for 2, out for 4. It is such a powerful tool, and I've spread it amongst all the paramedics within our ambulance trust. I have old colleagues who, we all have people we don't always get on with, but there have been colleagues who, I've butted horns with, and they've come up with me and they've said, I did that sleeping thing of yours. Thank you. Because nothing is worse than insomnia, right? And I spent 18 years ruining my health because I was doing shift work, and you just never get back into it. But now I love sleep. I look forward to bed. I look forward to that pillow touching my head, and I've trained myself, and everyone can, all right? It's preparing like you do if you're trying to get fitter or healthier or lose weight or gain any skill. It's about telling your subconscious now is the time, and letting your conscious mind understand that it is allowed to sleep safely and soundly, and your subconscious will look after you. Your subconscious makes your heartbeat, digests your food. It's alert. Should your house catch fire, you wake up. Your subconscious goes, well, that smells bad. You're awake, all right? So your conscious mind learns to trust the subconscious and will sleep all through the night. And should you wake because there's a noise, I teach people how they can be alert to it. But as soon as they go, oh, I'm awake, they'll go back to sleep again. And they do, because it works for me. And it's worked for clients that come to me for a hypnotherapy session. I get businessmen come into my studio and they go, I can't sleep. 10 minutes later, I physically shake them awake and go, you went to sleep. And they're like, how did you do that? Well, I don't. I'm just guiding you. A hypnotherapist doesn't do any work. All they do is teach your conscious mind to trust your subconscious. Right? A hypnotherapist doesn't do anything miraculous. We just guide you to do what you can do naturally.
Wow.
But we've forgotten how to.
Yeah. I've picked up several things from that. Number one, I need to stop snacking after 5 p.m.
Absolutely.
Because I didn't sleep very well last night. And now I can point back to probably one of the reasons why is because I was snacking up until I went to bed.
It's a tricky one. I used to sit there in the evening, would watch TV, and I used to be a chocoholic, still am, deep down. But I stopped eating then for two reasons. One, I used to be slightly overweight, fat. And it was so bad, I would actually be, you might edit this out, I used to vomit in my sleep.
No, we'll leave that in.
As, it would wake me up and you'd be choking. So I lost the weight, and then I stopped eating, so I don't get reflux, I don't get acid indigestion, I don't take medication, and I just sleep through the night now. It's very rare should I ever wake up. Wow. It's the best thing I ever did was learn mindfulness and meditation. It's so impactful.
Yeah, the next thing I want to do is go back and find the particular podcast episodes you have about sleep, because I definitely want to listen to those, because I sleep pretty well, but
there's
most
a
times,
whole session on sleep in the app.
Nice. All right. So let's talk about the big news: 4 million downloads, top 1% of podcasts. That's an amazing achievement. What do you believe led to that? What do you think? What makes a successful podcast like that?
From the nitty-gritty business point of view, every show is released religiously at 3 a.m. every single day, so that when people in Europe and the States wake up, my show is on their phone. It's ready for them. They're consistent. They're generally the same audio level the whole way through. The jingle is there as its ident, and the message is the same, and I don't stray. It's all from the heart. Every single show I do is actually for me. They're all part of my self-development. They're all there. I very rarely edit a single show. They are done in one take. I sit in front of this microphone. I know what the title is. I close my eyes. I press record. That's it. That is my meditation. And you, the listener, are joining in with me in my journey of self-improvement, self-love, self-care, and then gratitude and giving to others.
Nice, nice.
Every email I've got, which is positive, every review, are people saying, I gave this a try. Oh my, this changed my life. This guy gets it. He gets me. The only negatives I get are the ads ruined it. They're too loud. and until the app has made the financial return we're hoping, those ads have to stay. Mm-hmm. Because that's the only way I can fund the web hosting and it's a reality of life, and people accept that generally.
Yeah. Yes, it is something your passion, but it's also business.
Yeah.
So nice.
Yeah, I can't do it for free. Nice.
So thank you so much, Martin, for being on the entrepreneur journey. Do you have any parting words for the entrepreneurs?
Look after your mind. We can all focus on being the best, on making extra sales this month, but take it from someone who's had 2 huge eclectic mental health breakdowns due to stress in his life. If you don't take time out for you, and it's only 5 minutes a day, which is the title of my next book, right? Nice. If you don't take time out for you, you will burn out. You will not be the success you want. Or if you are the success, you won't be happy enough to enjoy it.
Nice.
Yeah.
So where can we send people to find out more about the app? Where can they look for the podcast, et cetera? What else would you like them to check out?
The app is easily downloadable on Android or iOS. It's called Calming Anxiety. They can listen to the show as well on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, but they can listen direct to the website, which is calminganxiety.net. And they can download the app from that site as well. Everything's at calminganxiety.net. And then spread the word, Calming Anxiety. It's better than calm.
So something that I'm going to do, then I'll also encourage our listeners to do, is I'm going to leave a review, because the more reviews also help the podcast and the app. So once you listen to the podcast or the app, please leave a review on the platform that you listen to it on.
Thank you, Doug. That would be brilliant. And then if they like the message, do follow on the YouTube channel, because I have I do 10-hour sleep sessions on that. Wow. With subliminal affirmations in. So you're listening to positivity deep down in your subconscious all night long.
I'm going to try that out.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm really proud of those ones. Really.
So we're going to put the link to the podcast, to the app below in the show notes. If you're watching this on YouTube, it'll be in the comment section or in the description. Once again, Martin, it has been fabulous having you on the show, and I look forward to continuing to hang out with you whenever we can.
Thanks, Doug. And thank you to all your listeners as well. Take care.